everybody, and welcome to Positive Fandom here. Um, I'm RM, and of course, we have with us Darth Plato, my co host here on our historical film series. We've been doing so many great films this year, Darth Plato, right? I've been enjoying every minute of it, and I hope all of you who out there are watching the films along with us and enjoying our comments. Darth Plato, you said you had a lot to say about this film. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it and your comments. Also, want to say hello to Tom Jr. Jackson, who's our moderator, collaborator, and good friend. He's here. Hi, Tom. Always good to see you. Tom Jr. Jackson has his own YouTube channel, so make sure you guys subscribe to that. And he says, hello, RM. Good to see you, Tom. We are all goof people. So, Darth Plato, tonight's film that we're looking at is a film called Hamburger Hill. You picked this film, Darth Plato. What were some of the reasons why you chose it?
Well, first of all, I wanted to say thanks for everybody that's here today. Thanks for having me on. And I wanted to point, is that the Tom Jr. Jackson in the chat? Thanks for moderating, Tom. As far as Hamburger Hill, the reason I chose Hamburger Hill is because in my interaction with Vietnam vets and other people who are in the know, is that this is probably the most realistic movie about the Vietnam War that's probably ever been made.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So people who are fans of films tend to lean towards Platoon, but I think that's more of a technical movie take rather than historicity. I don't like Platoon. I don't know why people recommend Platoon. This movie may not be as technically as impressive. There are some things that happen in the movie that kind of make me wonder why they're doing that. But I'm approaching it just from the historicity part of it. That's why I like the film.
Yeah, I'm glad you said something about that, Darth Vader. The other film that comes to mind when I think about the Vietnam War, and correct me if I'm wrong if it's not about the Vietnam War, is Full Metal Jacket, and that was always the one that I went to when I wanted to think about Vietnam and the experience there. I absolutely felt as if Full Metal Jacket would be the film that I would choose as the one. But I haven't seen Hamburger Hill for a long time, Darth Plato. And I remember when it came out, and it was another film that had brought a lot of attention to it at a time period where there were suddenly this interest in making films about Vietnam at a time when people were still very upset about it. But let's say, and still not treating veterans with the respect that they deserve. So it was very interesting time to have those sets of films, including Platoon and including Full Metal Jacket, coming out around that time when it was still somewhat controversial. Even The Exterminator, I'm going to put The Exterminator in there too, because Exterminator had that scary part in it where the gentleman is in, I believe he's also in Vietnam. I could be wrong. And he comes back to the United States and no one wants to have anything to do with him. They have no respect for him. It's quite a jarring and shocking revelation to realize the response to soldiers who fought in that war. So I think it is very interesting looking back now. It's 40 years later, right? 40 years later at an era and seeing how things have changed. You said you worked with veterans and you've spoken to veterans and gotten their opinions on it. Who better to judge about a film and what it was like than the men and women who were there themselves? So I can't wait to rewatch this, Darth Plato. And I'm going to put
I'm here.
I have the clock at do I still have it there? Oh, I have to change the perspective, guys. So give me a second. I'm going to change it to this one. I feel like we're too far apart from one another, but I can't help it. It changes the perspective and it makes it look different. And let's just do that. No, because it's not there. We'll do that one. You can see the counter. Darth Plato is at 2 minutes. I am at 50 seconds.
I can back up.
Yes, please. And Joe Tyson is also here. Hi, Joe. Joe says hello. Hope you are well, Joe. Good to see you. And welcome. We're going to be starting at 50 seconds into the film, guys. It is available on Amazon, as Darth Plato has just informed me of. And I'm going to put a banner in here just so you guys know. that we are going to be watching Hamburger Hill in just 1 second. And let's see. Sorry about that. Let's just go ahead and put Hamburger Hill in here. And I can't wait to watch this. It's been so long. You're going to see it scrolling along the bottom, or at least it should. All right, so let's go ahead and start our counters now. The troops of the 101st Airborne, Darth Plato. 10 days and 11 bloody assaults.
Yeah, there should be a space between asal though.
Okay.
That's how I've always seen it spelled.
Now is that the Vietnam Memorial?
I believe so, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if there's a director's cut for this movie. I just thought of that.
It's a good question.
Yeah, I remember when the Vietnam Memorial came out. We were talking about it in class, and I was in elementary school. And half the kids in my class were from that part of the world. They were Vietnamese or from that part of the world.
Oh, that's interesting. That is very interesting, Darth Plato. What an interesting perspective. And Tom says that his father has a cousin whose name is on the memorial.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, looks like they're exfilling from somewhere.
Definitely, Tom.
Oh. So this is 1969. So the down the yeah, poor guy. The de-escalation of the U.S. presence in Vietnam was already underway.
Mm-hmm.
It was well past this now. So 1969. So that we are into the Nixon administration.
Now, I didn't know Dylan McDermott was in this film, but apparently Don Cheadle's in this film too, right? Darth Plato.
I don't know. Is he?
Well, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page and it says he's in it, so I guess that means yes. Courtney B. Vance, I'm a huge fan of his, and I know you've seen him in a lot of, I think, Law and Order episodes.
Interesting.
Yes. That's Don Cheadle there, I think, holding the dog tag in his mouth. Thank you, Tom. Oh, is Blazing Asian here? Hi, Blazing Asian. Blazing Asian says, just wanted to stop to pay my respects. I have to go and do some overtime at work. Hope to watch the playback and listen to Darth play wax poetically about the Vietnam War. Well, thank you, Blazing Asian. I assure you, there will be many comments for you to listen to, and I hope work goes well tonight.
So basically, the overall goal of the U.S. here, the official reason, is to prevent the South Vietnamese government from being overrun by the communist North. So they want to build a what's the term they used?
You're going to stop that spread of communism, right, Darth Plato?
Hmm?
We're going to stop that spread of communism, right, Darth Plato?
Yeah, that was part of the when the Eisenhower administration switched over to the Kennedy administration. There was a significant shift in how the U.S. was handling the USSR. It switched from limited engagement to more of a policy of containment. So the USSR was starting to spread an insurgency campaign in other parts of the world. So they were supporting other countries and their insurgency. So you see that a lot in South America, and Vietnam was erroneously listed as one of these places. The Vietnam was not a colony of China. North Korea was. North Vietnam was not. And this was a problem that people made at that time. They made this connection that North Vietnam was part of that whole cabal that was going on. And really it was not. They were doing their own thing. What was going on in Vietnam actually dates back to the 1930s. So all this you see here has been going on for 30 years as far as the Vietnamese were concerned. The U.S. involvement was much more recent. And of course, it was very unpopular with the American public. There's a lot of reasons why that is. I don't know if we have time to get into that. That's a whole discussion into itself. Yeah, I'm not sure where they are.
So, am I correct in saying that this is based on the Battle of Hamburger Hill, Darth Plato?
It is, yeah. It's an engagement that occurred during what was that called? Yeah, Hamburger Hill was part of a larger operation called Operation Apache Snow.
Mm-hmm.
There was a number of operations in that area. We probably just saw the beginning of the movie what that was. Operation Apache Snow is going to be taking place soon. It was very close to the border with Laos,
Mm-hmm.
and the North was using it as a staging ground for attacks into South Vietnam. So that is why there's a battle there. It was. I don't think it had a formal name on the map. It was listed as Hill 937. And the number comes from its height. That's how they name mountains. The people that fought there called it Hamburger Hill, which is sort of a nod to something that happened in the Korean War called Pork Chop Hill, where something very similar happened in the Korean War.
And we have Blazing Asian who says, my dad was a Marine in the South, and my grandfather was a military officer in the South that helped American troops get settled. Always got to go. Respect and Darth Plato will respect to you, Blazing Asian.
Yeah, thanks for the comment, Blazin. Yeah, Arvin is a reference to the Army of South Vietnam, by the way, the Army of the Republic of Vietnam.
And hello, Bonzo Kilborn. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Good to see you. Hope you are well. Says, here's a greeting. A like. Oh, thank you so much, Bonzo.
How you doing, Bonzo?
Well, Darth Plato, it certainly has an immersive feel to it.
Yeah, I love it. I love everything about this movie. Yeah, those cone hats you see in the background, they wear that in China too, especially southern China. That's been going. That they've been wearing that for thousands of years. That's very old. Yeah, the only way he's getting out of that unless he's on a personal detail for a higher rank officer.
So at this point, they know they're going to be going to another area that has heavy fire.
They're going back to where they just were. There were campaigns in that area the previous 4 or 5 fighting seasons, so it's kind of predictable that's where they were going to go. Yeah, they saw it coming a mile away. Yeah, I feel for the guy that was complaining, but honestly, danger is part of the friction of war. That's not very satisfying to hear, I realize, but it's just true. Right, though, staying clean has been a big problem in war in the past.
Mhm.
Yeah, before modern medicine, before quinine, this part of the world was very dangerous for people from the European um, and people from that part of the world. Life expectancy was sometime around 6 months. It was really nasty. Yikes! That Viet Cong guy, is really illustrating what it's going to look like.
Yes, clearly he can get through their barbed wire defense.
But most of the action in Vietnam was against the Viet Cong. They were the insurgency. However, where they're going in the Ao Valley, that was held by the NBA. The NBA very rarely showed themselves outside of 65, 68, 73, and 75. Those are really the only time they ever showed themselves, and they were always beaten except in 75 with the fall of Saigon. Yeah, why not wear a uniform?
Exactly.
Oh, look at that. People in the right time. Yeah, what he's describing has been the bane of every army since the beginning of time. Yeah, these kind of mortar attacks were so common.
I'm impressed with the way that they are showing these battles, Darth Plato, and just the shots. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. Here it comes. Yeah, the problem with the North Vietnamese is they really had no answer to the retaliatory artillery or and air power, especially the air power. They were completely at the mercy of the U.S. when it came to air power. So the war was brutal. It was, but it was even more brutal for the North, and you just saw a reason why. I think that's Galvan. They just showed him talking about they were overlooking the water with those girls.
Yeah, he had no idea. He said he was one of the new guys. Maybe he didn't realize how much danger he was in.
Yeah, the motors can come out of nowhere. Yeah, it's a bit different here, but in the most of the places in Vietnam, the problem with the insurgency, the Viet Cong, is they did motor attacks. The U.S. was trying to defend installations and areas that they could operate out of and build up infrastructure in the South, and the South could beat up their army. But the insurgency, they got close enough so that they could just mortar these places. And you can't just sit there and let these people mortar you, so you have to go out. So the U.S. had to become more proactive. So they had to go out into the jungle and find these people. And that's really where the casualties mounted. So that's it was just really just damned if you do, damned if you don't, really situation. You can't just let them fire mortars at you in impunity. You have to go out there.
Yeah.
Hmm. It's true about I think 1/3 of the total ground force in Vietnam was black. They're pretty close to it.
Was it the highest concentration of black soldiers in any war so far? I mean, was it more than all the other wars?
Honestly, don't know the answer to that. But I do recall reading somewhere that it was pretty close to 1/3 of all the ground force. So, what I mean, in America, I think it's about 12% overall. Yeah, it was 30. It was about 30 to 33%. It was a number between 30 and 33%. That's yeah, it's pretty high representation considering. Boku Dinky do. Yeah, I think she's saying you're all crazy. I think that's what that means. Well, Boku means very or a lot. Interesting blend of Vietnamese and French.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, before the modern troubles, this part of the world was under French colonial rule.
Exactly. Ho Chi Minh. Brogu. Hello, everyone. Brogu. Hi, Brogu. Hope you are well. And I hope your brother Grogu is great as well. Welcome.
How you doing, Brogu? Why is that showing up? Yeah, I saw the caption just now said Motown plays. Yeah, they had good music in their days.
They really did. The 60s was a great time for music. And I think that this film is filmed so incredibly well. It is very immersive and certainly very personal.
Agreed. Interesting song to be listening to. Interesting. Why is that the case?
Out of this place. Thank you so much, Tom Jr. Jackson, who says Hamburger Hill was filmed in the Philippines. Thank you so much for letting us know, Tom Jr. Jackson.
Yeah, that is interesting actually.
You know, Darth Plato, this film almost seems like a documentary. It's got a little documentary feel to it as well.
Yeah, I saw a documentary recently about the Vietnam War. It was okay. Yeah, I'd rather watch this. All right, so they're going back in. So the goal is to punish the North Vietnamese as much as possible in this area to degrade their ability to project attack into South Vietnam. As awkward that sounds to listen to, that's what they're doing. So by this time of the war, basically they weren't really trying to achieve victory as a means to a larger goal, a larger means. The attacking the enemy almost became an end into itself. So they're attacking them because they're there. That's really the only reason why they're there. and so they attack them, and then they retire. This is an awful way to do war. This is the exact opposite of what we're seeing is the exact opposite of how military science should be working. (1969). This should have been over in 1965. Take a good look at this terrain. It's terrible, terrible ground if you're an attacker. It's absolute heaven if you're a defender. Get down, dude. Oh, that's yeah, that was the guy that was going to be leaving soon too.
And I'd like to say hello to Miss Martin Muses. Hi, Miss Martin Muses. Welcome to the show. We are watching Hamburger Hill. I hope you are well, Miss Martin Muses. Such a pleasure to see you. And welcome. The counter is here. We're at 44 minutes into the film.
So look at that. Look at that terrain. Oh,
It's unbelievable, Darth Plato. I mean, you can really feel that they're in the jungle here. There's the lack of visibility, the denseness, the feeling of being encroached upon. It's all here in this film.
it illustrates in history. Look at centuries ago. Kublai Khan tried to invade this area 6 times, and they could never get a foothold here. This is not a good place to be to be in if you're an aggressor. The Vietnamese, they know how to defend their area. Long history of it.
About a week, 10 days. Sorry. I can't I can't get over how low their visibility is and how they're expected to just keep going after seeing their friends being killed this way.
Yeah, what I would have done would just launch an amphibious invasion of the North and just get as close to Hanoi as possible and just push on Hanoi. That's what I would have done. But no, they couldn't do that. The reason why they never went north, they never did any ground operation north of the border, and the reason why is because they didn't want to provoke China. They wanted to. They think that oh, we want to avoid everything that happened in the Korean War, not all of which was a mistake, by the way. So if we go north of the border, China won't intervene. Yeah, so they're literally giving counsel to their fears. So they stayed behind. They stayed behind the line the entire time. It's kind of like imagine playing a football game where yeah, you want to score. You want to go down the field. You want to score. Except here, you can't go past the 50 line. Here, you can take the ball. You can do whatever you want with it, but you can't go past the 50-yard line. Well, what kind of game is that? It's like playing poker and you're not allowed to bet at the pot. Well, what's the point of that?
And Brogu says, this is a really good movie. It certainly is, Brogu. Glad you're here to watch this with us and everybody who's watching along on this incredible film, Hamburger Hill. There's a lot of frustration in this group of losing people, and I really love these performances, Darth Plato.
Yeah. Yeah, Doc is one of the best.
Their uniforms are all mucked up. They're all mucked up. I mean, it really reflects the hell that they're going through.
Yeah. And he's right to be angry. It was just messed up. If the guy was about to leave and then this happens, he's like, yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, quoting Clausewitz doesn't seem like the best response, but you know, danger is part of the attrition, part of the friction of war.
I mean, he's at a breaking point. He's almost at a breaking point, Darth Plato.
Yeah. And some people adjust well to it, and they can't get enough of it. And some people just, you know, they fall apart.
I don't think I could handle it as well as they have. And Tom Jr. Jackson points out Doc is played by Courtney B. Vance, husband of Angela Bassett. Thank you so much, Tom Jr. Jackson.
Maybe he's in a Law and Order.
Yes.
Or who is he in Law and Order?
I'm trying to remember. Wasn't he a lawyer? He played a lawyer once. And
so he was in the early seasons.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember. Why is the screen frozen? Yeah, it's fixed now. 9 days of hell. Okay, we're showing how tense everything is and how riled up people are, and the battle hasn't even started yet.
Oh, they're getting all shut up. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Tom. He says Courtney B. Vance was a district attorney on the first 5 seasons of
Right.
Law and Order, Criminal Intent. Thanks so much, Tom.
Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, I don't remember his name. And if you can get close enough to identify the enemy, that artillery will punish them. Oh,
Oh.
Hannah, jeez. It's like they have that in every war. Yeah, I forgot all about that. Like the it's like Tokyo Rose.
Yeah, not so nice broadcasts. It's
Yeah,
smack talk, but it's awful.
there's similar advice in the Western Front. If you lit it any kind of light, they could use that to shoot you.
Hmm.
Hmm. You think you're hurting now, huh? That's a very good question.
That's what Joni Mitchell said.
What's going on? Oh, those are claymore mines.
You actually could see a very good shot of one earlier
Mm,
as it was coming towards you. That was very, I thought from a cinematography point of view, that was incredible.
yeah, yeah, that was really well done, really scary.
Yeah.
That's part of what it was meant to do. It's meant to intimidate you. Once you see that happen to somebody, you don't want to go forward.
Yeah. May 15th now, Darth Plato.
Yeah,
So how long have they been up on the hill now? It's
4 days.
4 days of hell. This is an incredibly impressive scene here with the sound effects and everything. It's just
Yeah,
impossible terrain,
yeah.
incredibly loud firepower, nowhere for them to really hide.
I had all kinds of places to hide. The problem is they have to get up that hill. That's the problem. That looks like a Viet Cong. See the black outfit? That's Viet Cong.
Oh, oh.
Yikes!
Ah,
You just eviscerated that dude.
mm. Oh man. Air support.
And they're going into their bunker.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they were ready for it. That air support's hitting nothing. Like I said, the North had no counter to this at all, so all they could do was hide.
They lit it up.
And then they go right back out. Yeah, I think the attrition was about 8-1 against the North. So yeah, the U.S. lost a lot of guys, but the Vietnamese lost a lot more. This hill is 937 feet high. Yeah, that guy got shot. Oh, look at them on the hill; they're completely exposed.
Absolutely no cover whatsoever.
Yeah. That does happen, unfortunately. That's the guy that tried running up the hill. Thought he was going to win the whole thing. Well, at least they're hitting their targets.
And Rogu says, in my humble opinion, Courtney B. Vance's greatest accomplishment was marrying Angela Bassett. Guys, we're about an hour and 8 minutes into this film, and it's been unbelievable. This is nice. This is a nice touch in the film, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a moment of humanity.
It's like this is the anti Dear John letter. It's not a Dear John letter. It's the I'm going to be true to you letter. Aww. Aww. Yeah, and that's very interesting, Darth Plato, for him to get a letter praising their heroism at a time when people were not, or some people were not.
Well, there was a lot of people that supported it, but the people that made noise about it, they were just louder.
Yeah.
No, there was a lot of support.
Aww.
If the tape ran too long with the batteries. Not a little insensitive.
It's so it's the relationship feels so fragile sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of stories like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's tragic because of everything that's going on stateside. People on stateside were really tearing up this war. Look, this is the first war that was ever on TV. So you see it going directly into their living room. That's never happened before.
Dislocation.
Another problem was the reporters were all over the place. So they would show, like in Hanoi, they would show GIs going into like the drug den and the whorehouses. And so people at the stateside, they would look at this and go, "Man, you guys are a bunch of slime balls." And so the protesters sort of captivated on that and say, "Yeah, see, look out, they're a bunch of lousy guys," and they just ran with it.
Mm.
Yep. Yep. People absolutely did that.
Yeah, those Dear John letters, but now with the morality twist to it.
It's part of the reason why the McGovern campaign in '72 was such a disaster, because people publicly identified these people with that political side of the aisle, and it contributed to the just to one of the biggest landslides in American history. Yeah, the regular people did not appreciate the bad mouthing of the GIs. They absolutely did not. Even people who were skeptical of the war, who really didn't like what was going on, really did not like the bad mouth of the GI. That was taking it too far.
We've been watching an hour and 15 or 14 minutes of this film. It's getting more difficult and more difficult to watch it for me, Darth Plato. I don't know about you, but
Yeah, this is a microcosm of World War One. So you can, if you can watch World War One, you can watch anything. Mhm.
and this is exactly what you were talking about, Darth Plato.
Yeah, some of these reported guys were real scum.
Brother. That's not cool at all. That's really not cool.
Yes, they do. They really did like that. They really were like that. Hmm. You educate yourselves then. Yeah, the ratio of volunteer to draft was about 70%, 30%.
Oh, 30% volunteer, 70% draft?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was the exact opposite in World War II.
Was it the last draft in the United States, Darth Plato? Do you know?
Yes. Yeah. Jeez, that guy looks like he's in high school. Look at these guys.
They look like children. Oh.
Jeez. That's the worst thing you can possibly deal with in war. Mud.
Mm-hmm.
uphill on a muddy hill. I wouldn't have attempted it.
And they have the, I guess, technically speaking, the low ground compared to the guys above. It is really hard to watch this. Oh,
Jeez.
it's so horrible. Oh, oh. This is terrifying.
It's like he
Yeah.
got shot in.
I think he got shot, I guess, in the abdomen, but it
Yeah.
looks like he's going to make it. And Tom G. Jackson says this movie is brutal. Yeah, Tom, this is.
Yeah, you have to be treated right away an injury like that. Yeah, you can internal bleeding obviously, but you'll get it's there's real nasty bodily stuff down there like stomach acid and stuff. Screaming eagles.
Now I'm wondering, I mean, I don't know the outcome, but I'm wondering whether it's even fair to have this expectation of taking the hill now. But there's this in
This
the film itself, it's become a point, but it's really concerning me with the notion of them feeling the pressure to take this hill, considering what they're up against 10 times, 20 times, the rest of their lives, even.
hmm. Yeah, it's messed up. And look at that. Oh yeah, and there's the medical helicopter.
He may not make it. I mean, he might get on the helicopter and get to the hospital, but he may not pull through this. It's kind of a bad injury, isn't it?
He just died.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Got about 15 minutes left of this film, Darth Plato.
Yeah, I don't even know what they were talking about. You need firepower in order to maneuver. You got it's firepower, attrition, maneuver, victory. Classic Bonaparte. So they seem to be lacking. Corn dog. I don't know about you, but I hate mustard. Never could stand it. Yeah, he's going through the entire dictionary there. That was weird. Yeah, it's the last day.
And we're in the pretty much the last bit of this film, guys. Thank you for those of you who have been here through this whole film, which has been difficult to watch. We got about 10 minutes or so left of the film.
You know, to be fair, there was other action going on at this location, so it wasn't just these guys. You know, look what the air power had done to the hill. No vegetation. Everything's charred. Yeah, what happened here?
Oh, oh dear.
Grab his arm. Wow.
Hmm.
Right, what happened to that guy? Yeah. That's kind of scary.
He's gonna get killed. Oh, oh no. Ah,
Look where they are. They look like they're at the side of a volcano. Yikes. That was the day the music died.
mm.
Yeah, they still have the high ground. Jeez.
Oh, ah, oh. And hello, Anonymous. How are you tonight? Thanks for stopping by. We're just about wrapping up the film that has been incredible tonight, Hamburger Hill. The last few minutes of it, it's just unbelievable. Thank you so much for stopping by,
Yikes.
Anonymous. Incredibly brutal.
Now that's most of the cast now.
Definitely, Anonymous. This is one you need to see if you haven't seen it before. As Darth Plato says, after he's spoken to men who have been there at this time, this is the most accurate depiction of what it was like to actually be there during the Vietnam War.
The prevailing view, yeah. There
Mhm.
were some guys that said I wouldn't watch any movies because they're all garbage. I did hear some of that. But I think the more generous opinion is that this is probably the best movie.
Mhm.
So that's it, just three of them. Yeah, that guy made it through the whole movie.
He's not looking too good.
Kind of reminds me of Star Wars. The red call sign.
It says it was secured on May 20th, 1969, and the war for hills and trails continued, the places and names forgotten, except by those who were there. If you were able to save for them a place inside of you and save one backyard glance, when you're leaving for the places they can no longer go. I'm trying to figure out who wrote that. But they were dying and keep it their own.
It's a poem.
Mm-hmm. Do you know who wrote it? Major Michael Davis O'Donnell.
All right. So they didn't. What they didn't mention was that the hill was abandoned right after that.
Well, I have to say that the performances were amazing. As we talked, Don Cheadle was in the film, Michael Boatman. Like, they're going through the list of stars. Michael Dolan as Murphy. Of course, Dylan McDermott was in the film. Courtney B. Vance, who we saw earlier on. It was an unbelievable performance. Darth Vader, what do you think of the performances here?
As I think everything about this movie is amazing. I like everybody that I saw. It's, um, it's very somber, heartbreaking in many ways, but then again, that's kind of the point. It's the realistic portrayal of the movie. I don't think there's a lot of Vietnam War movies that are really kind of over the top. I think like Heartbreak. I think Heartbreak Ridge fits that category. I think it is over the top, although there were aspects of it that I really liked. Uh, Same with Apocalypse Now. I thought Apocalypse Now was over the top. I didn't like Apocalypse Now. I didn't like Platoon. But this movie, I like this movie. I don't think it's over the top at all. I think it's really. I don't know who made this movie, but I'm really glad they did because they clearly put a lot of effort to try to create something that's not for your enjoyment. This isn't really the movie that you enjoy. It's like oh, that's a good movie. It's the sort of movie you watch. It's the sort of movie you watch where you're like wow, they really took care to make you feel like you were there, like what it was really like. And that's why I like this movie. That's why I recommended it.
Well, I think that it set forth and achieved what it wanted to do, but it didn't glorify anything, and it put definitely a more personal and human aspect on it with that recording, which I thought was such a nice touch. With the girlfriend saying that she's always going to love him and
Yeah,
wishes he was
yeah,
home. I thought that
yeah,
was so beautiful to put in there.
and yeah, and he was one of the survivors.
Yeah, that was very touching. We also saw them, kind of just getting through. And yes, they were at brothels, but they were just kind of barely surviving. It's like you go through hell for 2 or 3 days and then maybe you get one day at a brothel. This is not a happy existence. So, the insertion of the brothel was just the reality of what was there, but it they were not sort of like living their best life or anything like that. This was a brutal experience for these men. And, they had to deal with so many sacrifices and just inhumane things, having to see their friends killed constantly. This was just such an incredible, undertaking. And I thought that the shots against the hill, you felt like you were climbing that hill with them. The shots were incredible. Everything was done remarkably. It's a great film, Darth Plato, and certainly it does capture this insurmountable hill that they had to go up, and they managed to also put in what they were up against regarding popular opinion, which I
Mm.
also felt that they didn't necessarily um showboat it too much, although the Courtney B. Vance figure he was very proud of, let's say, being African American. Of course, he's going to be proud of being there, but he also let people know that he felt that they were being treated unfairly. And uh,
Mhm.
I thought that it was good for them to include that because it wouldn't make sense if that wasn't in there. But I don't think they went too far with any one point. But certainly, this sense of brutality that they had to go through was very well portrayed, and I think it looked very realistic. Um, any final thoughts on the movie Darth Plato? And I'm so glad that you recommended we watch this film.
I wanted to comment on why the hell this was all going on. Okay, since you'll pardon me if I sound a little long-winded here, but it actually, you kind of have to go back to Hiroshima. So when Hiroshima happened, what it did is it created this perception in some parts of the military and civilian that military science was obsolete, like it was a thing of the past. That the future was for us to forge, and so this sort of allowed a certain group of people to creep in on the civilian level, and then you have like the National Security Act that separated the formulation of strategy from the military solely into the hands of the civilian without consulting the generals, and that's really been like that ever since. It's like that and Vietnam is really the first war ever fought where the higher echelons of the military really had nothing to do with what was going on in the war. LBJ and McNamara. McNamara was the defense secretary at the time. They looked at they looked at the military the same way that a modern company would look at tech support. That's all. That's all it was to them. Of course, you're not going to invite tech support to your meeting. Like, we're the smart guys. We'll figure things out. If we need something done, we'll tell you. We'll tell you what you need to do. And so they thought that they could do the military better than the military could because they were the smart guys. They had the PhDs from the Ivy League degrees. They were the whiz kids. They were literally called the whiz kids. These people that hung around McNamara, and they thought that they could reduce war to a mathematical theorem, and you can't do that. War is unpredictable. It's a constant clash of opposites that transpires at all times. You can't quantify something like this, and that's what the people tried to do. What do you mean by quantify? Okay, so here's how they tried to quantify it. Uh, so you take World War II, for instance. So they'll look at something like the total production of the U.S. economy of war material and material that was used, and compared to the enemy. In the case of the United States, it was overwhelmingly in favor of the U.S. So they take something like that and okay, well, let's apply it to the Vietnam War. Okay, so what does Hanoi got? What have they got going on? Well, their production is like way down here. They're not even like in the top 10. They're like in nowhere near the percentile of the advanced developed nation. The U.S. is way up here. So their idea was, well, this will be over in a few weeks. So if you just take that quantification and apply, they did. They really thought this was going to be over in a few weeks, and that's 1965. And next thing you know, it's 1966. And next thing you know, it's 1967. And it's 1968. And now it's 1969. And it just went on and on and on. And these people could not figure out, well, it must be the military's fault. These people are screwing things up. They did. They really thought that. And it was just this horrible, vicious cycle that was going on. So why was Vietnam messed up? That's a big part of it right there. Why? They took military science, which is essential, and they just completely threw out the window. That's why you saw operations like this. This operation was not considered. I'm talking about Apache Snow now, and Hamburger Hill was part of that, where they completely conceived it as like, well, there's the enemy there, so we're gonna fight them there. We're just gonna knock them down like dominoes, and there you go. That fulfilled the conclusion. No, that's not what you do. You apply firepower to inflict attrition. From attrition, you use maneuver to exploit your firepower. That's how you get an advantage. That's how you get your decision. Classic Bonaparte. I said it earlier. They didn't do that here. They went to that hill. Okay, they took the hill. Congratulations. So they went to the map and they marked it off. And then 3 days later, they left. They left. Now, the hill itself wasn't that important, but the point is how the thinking process of all of this. God, I sound like Rob on Star Trek. uh, oh, man, it did. It makes me mad thinking about it.
Yeah, it's something to think about, and I also think that their decision to choose showing certain parts of this film were what they did decide to show. It was wonderful, the balance of what they had in here, and I think that also makes a big difference in the flow of this film. It doesn't feel like there's any real downtime, and that sometimes you do get a sense that there's a sense of downtime in films made about this era, where they'll kind of break out into sort of like a popular song, and that's their main thing, and they give you a 5-minute prologue with the music and want to focus a lot on that. But I didn't feel like they were really focusing on music necessarily as much as they were focusing on lyrics and messages, and they wanted to get that across more than playing all the hits at that of that era. So certainly they did mention the difference in cultures across Americans across the country, and of course from your socio or economic background. But I liked that they chose to show what I felt was truly realistic relationships between these men and what they were going through, and they didn't even have time to breathe. Darth Plato, like, it felt like they didn't have time to breathe. And I think if a film can put you in that situation where you don't really have time to necessarily reflect on all this, you just have to keep going. There's one scene where they're running up the hill for the second or third time, and a guy says, "I'm so tired, like I'm so tired." And
That was
certainly,
before the battle.
yes, there's another one before the battle, but I thought that was so important because what was important about it was to show that he was still going up the hill, even though his tank was empty. So, regardless of the challenges, the men still managed to push through and do what they were asked to do for the most part, even after seeing their friends get, killed by friendly fire or whatever. They still went up the hill, still did what they were supposed to do. That is truly a remarkable accomplishment. So, um, yeah, and it was also very heartbreaking as well. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's an honest take. I appreciate that. It's a little bit different from the what I was trying to say about the. It's more like a more of a professor's complaint. So when I was trying to make this point before, I had someone uh, during the Q&A period stood up and said, he didn't really, and during the Q&A period he stood up and asked a question. He didn't ask a question at all. He just stood there and started to tell the entire history of the Vietnam War. Because I guess that was his way of saying he disapproved of what I had to say about it. um, so like that's just a bunch of professor talk, I think, is what he was trying to say. Look, I understand. It's not a difficult thing to do. Military science, what the hell is that? It's not a Clausewitz, what the hell is that? I understand. It's not an easy thing to talk about, but it it really is. That really is why Vietnam was so messed up. As far as the public concern. Okay, here I'll say something about what's going on with the American public. So, so basically,
all right, Darth Vader's going to be back 1 second, everybody. And I'm sure he's going to be doing that. And Anonymous says is correct. Fought for a hill, then told to abandon. Truly, that is also one of the shocking things that happened during this film as well.
okay, so what was I saying? I don't remember what I was saying. Um, yeah, so the American public poo-pooed this really from the beginning, and part of the reason why is because there's a disconnect between what the government says on the one hand about what's going on and what the Americans can see plainly with their own eyes. And this is part of the part about how this is the first war where television brought the war into it. So the government says one thing, yet they can see it with their own eyes. It's like someone saying, "Well, this is a peaceful protest," but you can see them putting a building on fire. Well, wait, we can see what's going on. That's not what there's nothing peaceful about this. Um, So it's just little things like that that really freak people out, and it just sort of and it sort of built up from there. So there was no calling up to the reserves. Johnson didn't feel like he needed to explain anything because he thought that the involvement of the American people in the development of the U.S. in pursuing their interest in the war in Vietnam thought that it would get in the way of his Great Society thing. He thought, oh, the American people don't need to know this sort of thing. This is above them. And I think that the American public kind of got a sense for that, that that the government was trying to pull one over on them, that they're not telling the truth about when, and it was all true. It was more incompetency than some sort of conspiracy. It wasn't a conspiracy, but the American public got the sense that there was something really wrong here, and activists sort of took this and ran one direction with it, and then it splintered into this into on the one hand, you had principal objectors, like I am a principled objector, someone would say. And then that person would come on and say, F you, screw all you people. Like, you are immoral if you support, oh, you know someone immoral? You need to disassociate yourself with that person. That makes you immoral. There were people like that. And you saw that, and you saw that a hint of that in the movie where the guys go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't relate to you anymore because my friends will say I'm immoral." Now that stuff like that really did happen. Yeah, which is so nasty. There's more I could say about it, obviously, but that's really it in a nutshell. I don't know how much time we have. I just wanted to get that out there really quick.
Well, I want to thank Tom Jr. Jackson, who says this is a great stream. Thank you, Tom Jr. Jackson, for being here. As always, guys, remember to check out Tom Jr. Jackson's YouTube channel. Tom does have his own YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe to his channel, guys, when you get a chance, and check out his fantastic videos. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. And Darth Plato, where can people find you?
You can find me right here in the It Show, the positive thing. And more importantly, as Russ would say, where can people find you?
Well, guys, of course, you can find me right here on Positive Fandom, where I do all the parlay in the fandom, and of course, on the Burnettwork. You can find Darth Plato and I on both of those channels. But I do want to thank you, Darth Plato, for suggesting this film. And certainly, it's always such a pleasure to watch these films with you and everybody in the chat here tonight. We are all goof people, and certainly want to thank everybody. We're going to be back next week for another watch party. I don't know what it is yet, but it's coming up. And I did want to thank everybody for being here. Remember, guys, no matter where you are in the galaxy, always remember to please be kind, guys. Take care.